On to our other big story tonight. One of the largest and most respected media organizations in the world is in the line of fire. The British Broadcasting Corporation, or the BBC, has been hit by a major crisis, and it's linked to US President Donald Trump. The BBC has announced that both its Director-General Tim Davie and its news CEO Deborah Turness are resigning from their posts. The resignations come amid a storm over the broadcaster's editorial decisions, its coverage of politically sensitive issues, and in particular a documentary which allegedly misedited a speech by Trump, altering context and raising questions of bias. BBC chairperson Samir Shah has said the editing of the Trump documentary in 2024 was an error of judgment. The conclusion of our deliberation is that we accept that the way the speech was edited did give the impression of a direct call for violent action. The BBC would like to apologize for that error of judgment. At the center of the storm is an episode of the BBC's flagship current affairs program, Panorama, titled Trump, A Second Chance, which aired shortly before the 2024 US presidential election. The documentary is accused of splicing together two separate parts of Trump's January 6, 2021 speech in such a way as to make it appear that he explicitly incited his supporters to march violently on the US Capitol, when in fact the omitted portion included his call for peaceful demonstrations. A leaked internal memo by a former BBC editorial standards advisor, Michael Prescott, flagged the episode, along with other instances where BBC's coverage of Gaza, transgender issues, and BBC Arabic was said to be serious and systemic in error or bias. That's when what began as an editorial criticism widened into concerns about institutional impartiality at the BBC, a taxpayer-funded public broadcaster whose mandate includes neutrality. In his resignation note, Tim Davie has stated, and I quote, "Overall, the BBC is delivering well, but there have been some mistakes, and as Director General, I have to take ultimate responsibility. Like all public organizations, the BBC is not perfect, and we must always be open, transparent, and accountable." Deborah Turness, in her departure message to the staff, wrote, "The ongoing controversy around the Panorama on President Trump has reached a stage where it's causing damage to the BBC, an institution that I love. In public life, leaders need to be fully accountable, and that's why I'm stepping down." Yet, she defended the corporation, saying, "While mistakes have been made, I want to be absolutely clear. Recent allegations that BBC News is institutionally biased are wrong."
I would like to say it has been the privilege of my career to serve as the CEO of BBC News and to work with our brilliant team of journalists. I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider. And if you'd excuse me,
why did you fail to deal with the mistakes that were made?
And see my teams. Thank you so much for being here.
Do you think that the journalists are corrupt, like President Trump says? Do you think the journalists
Of course our journalists aren't corrupt. Our journalists are hard-working people who strive for impartiality, and I will stand by their journalism.
As you would expect, the reaction from Donald Trump was swift. The US president posted on social media, "The top people in the BBC, including Tim Davie, the boss, are all quitting or fired because they were caught doctoring my very good, perfect speech of January 6th. What a terrible thing for democracy." Reports now suggest that Trump is threatening legal action against the BBC. The reason this has snowballed into a major crisis is because it is the BBC's credibility and impartiality that are at stake. For the BBC as a public broadcaster, the trust of its audience and the principle of editorial neutrality are foundational. The allegation that a speech was edited misleadingly undermines that trust. The resignations clearly signal that the top executives felt the pressure, both internal and external, to take responsibility, especially as the leak revealed deep criticism of culture and standards. The controversy unfolds amid broader debates on media, national sovereignty, public funding, and political interference. And it raises fresh questions about how public media organizations govern themselves. Indications are the next leadership of the BBC will face parliamentary scrutiny. Committees such as the UK House of Commons, Culture, Media and Sports Committee have already demanded explanations. The issue touches not just one programme but broader themes of bias, representation and public trust. This when the stakes for democracy and media credibility are real. Well, that's all the time we have on this edition of Global Pulse. Thanks for watching. Do join us again at the same time tomorrow.